On this episode of the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics podcast, we're going to be covering another track that Prince wrote for a side project, The Screams of Passion, which was written for the family. And joining me to discuss The Screams of Passion is Angel Monique. Welcome back to the show, Angel.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for having me. It's good to be back.
Oh, always glad to have you. We've done several episodes now together, and I think we've done some ballads, we've done some interesting songs over the past few years of doing the show, and now we're delving into a track that Prince never officially released for himself, but I've done some of these episodes where he's written songs for other artists or ended up being performed by other artists, but never on any official project that he's done or released, not even on the originals. Like when the originals project came out in 2019, Screams of Passion, like his version of Screams of Passion, did not end up on that. There was another song by the family that ended up on that that release, and of course that was Nothing Compares to You.
Right.
But Screams of Passion did not. So from that standpoint, Angel, do you have any memories or recollections of hearing this song for the first time, or like when did you become aware of it?
The Prince version wasn't until I was much older. The family version was when it was released, 84, 85, I think 85.
85, yep, you're right, 85.
I'm aging myself here. I was 12. I was 12 years old singing my little heart out like I knew exactly what all of those lyrics meant. I knew nothing. I knew absolutely nothing. But the Prince version was way, way later. And probably the first time I felt somewhat of a betrayal of feeling like I liked someone else's version better than I liked his, which is always an uncomfortable space because you want to love your favorites more than you love anybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're both wonderful. They're both wonderful, yeah. But in that space, I was like, this is an uncomfortable little feeling, where I'd appreciated somebody else's more.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can relate to that. I mean, I think there's probably songs that showed up on the originals, and maybe there's other versions of songs that may someday show up on another version of that, like a volume 2 or volume 3. And there's always going to be a song or two that I think Prince's versions are good, but sometimes the final released version just has a little bit something extra, and it might just simply be because they spent more time on it. Yeah. Right? Like a lot of these Prince versions, these originals, these guide vocal tracks were just that. They have the basics of the music to allow the artist to follow along with the tempo or know exactly when to change the inflection of the vocals based off of the music behind them. But that's what they were. They weren't fully fleshed out, finished tracks. Although they sound great. All the stuff on original sounds great. I think Prince's version sounds great. But the Screams of Passion, the Prince version, the guide vocal version, didn't have the orchestral strings, right? So it's missing a big piece of what kind of makes the family's version special, and that's the Claire Fisher orchestra strings. And now that's not the first time that Prince worked with Claire, but it's towards the very beginning of their relationship, their working relationship. And I guess because The Screams of Passion was released as a single from the family's 1985 self-titled album, The Family, it by default, it became the first Prince written song that included Claire Fisher's orchestral strings that people could hear, like it was released and people could actually hear, not stuff that got thrown away or put away into the vault.
Right.
Stuff that like first example of a song that you could hear that was Prince's written music, added Claire Fisher's strings to it. So
Right.
that's kind of
Yeah.
unique about this song for sure.
Yeah. So I will feel comfortable in saying that, um, though I liked it better, it was his approval before it was, always final approval from him. So I feel better about it now. I'm going to take that.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And also what kind of makes this song unique, I guess, in a way, based maybe because of some of the way he wrote it. It was intended to be like a duet of sorts.
Yes. Yeah.
Between the two lead vocalists in the family, St. Paul Peterson and Susanna Melvoin. Now, Paul he takes the lead on the majority of the songs on the family. Susanna comes in with in duet situations like on the Screams of Passion and maybe one or two other songs, but it's mostly Paul's album.
Yes, it is.
if we're just being honest, like it's Paul's album, and then you got Claire Fisher strings, you got Susanna backing vocals, a lot of songs, or side vocals on a lot of songs. Eric leads on sax, so it's a unique project. Basically, Prince taking remnants of the time, once the time went away, he needed another kind of like funk project to provide
try out stuff. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And then adding these strings, which is not something the time did. None of the time songs added orchestral strings to them. It just added another layer, another dynamic to the music, and then Prince obviously incorporated that into his own music. From that point, from the Parade era basically on, here and there, over the decades. I mean, they had a working relationship all the way through the 2000s. So
they did, yeah.
Yeah, a really long time, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So just talking a little bit about the background of the song. So the Screams of Passion was initially recorded in August of '84 at the Flying Cloud Drive warehouse in Eden Prairie. So if you just think of this in the overall timeline of what's going on in Prince's life, nothing much, just releasing Purple Rain album in June, releasing the film in July, and hey, in the middle of August, I'm going to record some music.
Throw an album in there.
That has nothing to do with Purple Rain.
Yeah.
He's
By
already
the way.
moved on. He's got to start thinking about touring behind Purple Rain and start rehearsing for the massive tour that would be the Purple Rain tour. But in August, he was like, I'm doing this thing for these people that I like, that are members of bands that have either dissolved or, my girlfriend at the time. And, and there's this guy on saxophone I really want to start working with. So I'm just going to throw them all together and call it a band, call it a group.
See how it works out.
And I don't know, what are your thoughts on the Family album overall, Angel?
One of my favorites. The whole timeline of them was so wild because it was so short lived, and I wanted so much more of that. And it was one of my favorite albums of the side projects that were put out, and to have a concert and then the end, because St. Paul was like, okay, that's enough for me. Was it him though? Yeah. That was like, this is just a little too much, too restricting for me. So I'm done. But that album was probably my favorite of all of the side projects that he's done.
Yeah, no, the Family album is great. And it is unfortunate that they could not sustain a more lengthy time together, to create more music, at least another album, if nothing else. At least give us 2 albums instead of 1. But there's lots of different reasons, lots of different extenuating circumstances that were going on in the life of Prince, and his involvement in the project and the family was kind of taking a back seat as he was preparing to film Under the Cherry Moon. And it wasn't like he just came in as an actor. I mean, he was involved in every aspect of Under the Cherry Moon.
Right.
So directing, writing, acting, performing, writing and performing music. He was living overseas at the time,
Yeah.
so the family just wasn't in. Basically, this is based off of what things that Paul has said over the years. Like, he
Mm-hmm.
just felt like they weren't a priority for Prince anymore. Like, the family
Right.
weren't a priority. And of course, he was starting to get recruited by other labels that were trying to pull him.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we'll give you a solo deal. Like, you want to sit around on your hands and wait for
Right.
Prince to finally have the time to, to mentor you or to take you guys out on tour? Or do
Yeah.
you want to
Or
record music for us now with your name on the album? So he took and he did what he thought he needed to do, and Prince
right.
had a different opinion. Let's just say that he wasn't
As
very.
always.
He didn't appreciate what he perceived to be, a lack of
Disloyalty. Sort of,
disloyalty.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially on the
Hey.
heels of Jesse. It seems like,
Yeah.
because Jesse did his own thing, and then not too long after that, Paul was like, okay, well, yeah.
Yeah, Jesse and Morris both kind of falling out with Prince just the previous year, so
Yeah.
or a year, 2 years. So really it was probably like, man, none of these people, I'm giving them everything and they don't give me anything in return, or they don't
Right.
have patience with me, and I don't get it. But I mean, whatever. That's another topic for a different time. We're
Indeed
here
it
to
is.
talk
That's a
about
whole other thing.
Screams of Passion. Probably without, if Nothing Compares to You didn't become a huge hit from Sinead O'Connor in 1990, this song likely would have been the most
That would have
notable
been it.
and most widely recognized song by the family um, because of it being released as a single, because there being a
Yeah.
music video attached to it. Now, the music video is funny. The 80s
I
were
love
wild,
that
man. I
video.
mean, I grew up in the
Really.
80s, so did you.
I did.
Uh, but at the time, none of this stuff looked cheesy. None of this stuff seemed weird. It was just normal. But now when we
But you
look
look at
back
it
at
now, yeah.
it,
Like, I watched that video like probably a half hour before we got started, and was like, my God, we really thought that was some dope stuff.
yeah, right. We've come a long way in 40 years. Let's put
Indeed.
it that way. The green screen was in effect in 1985 for
Oh
sure.
yeah, we loved clouds and oceans and stuff.
Yeah, and just the background, and then having them do their synchronized dancing.
Yeah.
It just it's a trip. And anybody who hasn't seen the video for the Screams of Passion needs to just go find it on YouTube and
Please
just
watch it.
watch it.
Please watch it.
The song is so good, and I sometimes look past the visuals. The visual aspects of some of Prince's and his associates' music videos aren't always up to, in my opinion, granted, keep this in mind. In my opinion, some of the visuals from the music videos aren't up to par always with the music.
Right.
I mean, he wasn't Michael Jackson when it came to music videos. It wasn't something that I don't think Prince really took a lot of time and care into. Sometimes, yes, sure, but he didn't have like these long form music videos that were like mini movies.
Yeah.
Like the music
usually
videos
it's
for
that.
Billie Jean and Beat It and Thriller and Smooth Smooth Criminal. I was thinking of Sade. Smooth Criminal, Bad. I mean, all of these music videos, The Way You Make Me Feel from the 80s, were
Right.
like little miniature films that told a story that corresponded with the music and the lyrics to the songs. You just don't get that similar feel from a lot of Prince's music videos, and the Screams of Passion is no different. It's just
Definitely
kind of
one of them. Yeah.
a performance video, but just with a lot of, like I said, green screen,
Yeah.
oceans and tidal waves in the background. It looks really kind of cheesy today and cheap looking, but the technology also wasn't quite there.
Right.
But if the
But
technology was
inspiring
there, then
nonetheless.
yeah, inspiring. If the technology wasn't there, then maybe they shouldn't have done it. But everybody was doing it, so I guess can't really
So
blame.
just throw something together.
Yeah, it's just a
I
visual.
mean, it's not like we didn't know the music was what was most important to him anyway. So,
Yes.
we need a video. We'll throw it together. We need people's faces out there. Let's just do this thing. Throw the synchronized dancing together. That's something that we knew him for, and let it just be what it is. Let
Yep.
people let people have the music more than they're worried about any of the other things.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what we have to kind of look at these music videos as, is just companion pieces to the music. They're not supposed to overshadow the music in any way, and they definitely don't, unless you're just too focused on how ridiculous some of them look
Yeah.
that you can't focus on the music anymore, and then you just play the MP3 or just stream it somewhere if you
Right.
can't get past the visuals. But it's
It's a
always nice
fun
because then you
fact.
can see the band,
Yeah.
and it's always nice to be able to see the musicians, even if
Right.
I think Eric Leeds in the video was playing drums or something.
He
No, not
was.
he was doing
No.
something. He was doing something that he shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah.
Playing guitar, maybe.
He was playing guitar.
Yeah, that's
He
right.
was. Yeah. He was playing guitar.
Yeah, because they
Yeah.
had Jelly Bean on drums, and then
Yeah.
Jerome also was doing percussion, so they didn't need a
Percussion.
third percussionist.
Hmm.
But they threw they threw a guitar on
Just
Eric
throwing
Leeds'
them in there.
shoulders. Like, hey, we don't have a saxophone in this song, but we still want you in the video, so you got to do
So
something.
let's just give you a guitar and make it work.
Why not? Okay. All right. So since this is a lyrics podcast and we've talked a lot about
We've
visuals of the
talked a
music
lot about,
video,
yeah.
let's get into the lyrics. So for Screams of Passion, I think, I'm just getting a very, I don't know, romantic imagery, like poetic.
Yeah.
He's trying to be very poetic in this song, I feel. It almost feels a little bit like he's, and I don't mean this in a bad way, like trying to write for like this Harlequin romance novel, and in an attempt to give the listener the most romantic evening possible as presented by
Yes.
Prince. It's a romantic
Don't you
autumn
people
evening.
sleep on Harlequin romances like my guilty pleasure. Regency romances. It's what I
Yeah,
read.
they were everywhere back in the day. You couldn't
I'm
go
a
to a
writer and I
bookstore
don't
without
write
seeing.
it, but I do read it. It's nostalgia. My mom was the first person to give me one of those when I was a teenager, so it
Yep,
sets the stage. Yeah.
for sure. All right, so I'm going to read, and this song actually has quite a few lyrics, so I'm just going to read like the first verse, and there's a lot of lines here, and we don't
Yeah.
have to dissect every single line, but let's just go through it.
Okay.
There's a gentle autumn breeze that blows whenever we be lying in my bed. The moon appears and disappears. You look at me. My clothes I quickly shed. The curtains dance a minuet. Autumn plays the music, baby. Come on, hold my hand. Leaves are fallen, velvet splash. Only you can understand. The sunlight draws a picture through the silky lace that hangs above your door. A picture that is waving, that it seems to be with every thrust you make me beg for more. Okay, so one of the things that Prince does in this song that's kind of memorable is how he repeats certain lines before he moves on. You've got a couple different instances. Lion in my bed. He'll repeat the word lion there. Clothes I quickly. Then he'll repeat I quickly shed again in the next line. And so there's others, and you pick up on that pretty quickly as you're listening to the song. It's not. It doesn't really have anything to do with the lyrics per se, but it's about the delivery and about how he wants certain lines to just kind of sound together. That the way the lines flow, it's unique. It's not just straight song like some songs. And again, I'm going back to like all of the imagery that this song is trying to present. We've got an autumn breeze, so you get the impression that it's an autumn evening.
Yeah.
And they're lying in bed. Maybe you got the windows open because it's kind of like one of those days like it is today where I live, where it's warm in the day, then in the evenings get cool. So you like to have the windows open to bring some of that cool, fresh air into your home. But the whole, it feels like the whole first verse is just setting the stage and tone for this romantic evening that he's having with this other person, and how just the visuals that you're supposed to imagine, like if this was a movie, or like if you're reading a book or a poem where these lines are being delivered, you all automatically start to think of what this looks like and what this feels like.
Yes,
so Angel,
you are reading a Harlequin romance.
if you're reading it, for example.
Yes.
So like in this first verse, like I said, there's a lot of lines. What are the impressions you're getting when you listen to the song and you hear these lines?
This is the setup for not just sex but making love. That's what this is. It's all romance and it's soft and it's gauzy and lovely and all. And I always think about whenever we do these shows, I am always reminded of moments that I knew that something was going to happen in my life, which is one of the reasons, like, we become fans for many reasons of whatever artist. I have not been a fan, or he's not been my favorite just because I love the music, but there are some things that were impactful in my life. This song in particular is at 12 is I already was a musician, just a kid in the band in elementary and middle school, and I'd played the flute by then. I had stopped playing. I picked the flute back up at this point because of this song, because of Claire Fisher. I picked the flute back up. I did not go on to continue playing it. I'm a trombonist. But I knew that I would be a writer. And a writer and a musician, and it was inspired by this. And initially in my writing career, I wrote romance, and this was the reason why. This writing in this song was the reason why. So this to me is the opening of this extremely beautiful romantic night.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's an awesome story
Yeah.
and awesome, way to relate your life back to this song and how just the way Prince chose to write this song, because of course he's written lots of songs about
Mm-hmm.
romance and about love and about sex, and they're not all written in this style where there's this much poetic
Right.
terminology being used. The curtains dance a minuet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you're just getting the visuals of he could have just said the curtains are moving back and forth because of the breeze blowing through the window. But no,
Yeah.
they're dancing. Like the whole setup is around turning normal everyday things into something grander or more special to kind of enhance
Yeah.
and to frame the evening that is about to begin. Two lovers making love, which is
Yeah.
what it boils down to.
Yeah, there's a line in I am writing my first novel right now, and there's a line about curtains. And I referred to them in as there's a dance like a definition that I use that stands. And my editor, who is also one of the guests on your show right here often, um, had to ask me, what is that? And that is actually where I got it from. It's not a minuet, it's another word. But it is because of this song that I wrote it that way, that it was a reference to dance, as opposed to just saying that the wind was blowing the curtains.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's been that impactful for me.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
again, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You're the perfect guest to have for this episode, which you
Thank
chose
you.
it. You
I
chose
chose
it.
it. This is why.
So it makes complete sense why you would choose this
Yeah.
song, considering the impact that it had on you as a writer,
Yeah.
for sure. And again, like these two people I'm guessing are in a bedroom, and these are just some of the things that are happening besides the two lovers beginning their evening together. Like their clothes,
Right.
they're taking their clothes off, and they're beginning that romantic evening together where they're going to make love. And so what is happening in the rest of the room? What's happening just outside the room?
Yeah, these are
There's a
the
breeze
ambient
blowing.
background things that people
Yes.
wouldn't normally pay attention to. All of these
Yes.
other things are happening. Yeah.
And in this moment, because of how, I guess, important the singer is placing on this evening, that everything else that goes along with it is equally important. It's not just
Right.
about the two of us. It's also about the moment and the moment in time and what's going on.
Yeah.
So you can almost, like, if this is going to be the first time we make love, I mean, I don't know if this is the first time or not for these two in the song, but if it's going to be that kind of an evening, you want to have as much visual imagery implanted in your brain, so that way when you do some sort of recollection of that night, you can think of all of the details and not just about the sex.
Yeah, you get the setting. You get the full setting of the situation. Yeah.
Okay, so then the chorus is, a robin sings a masterpiece that lives and dies unheard for screams of passion. The sound produced by two in love, curtains dance and autumn plays on, the screams of passion. I do like the line, a robin sings a masterpiece that lives and dies unheard. I've always liked that line, not always quite understanding what it was trying to say necessarily, but I just think that it sounds really unique and interesting. It sounds interesting. So, you think of a bird that's singing a song, not just a song, but a masterpiece. So again, everything is heightened. Everything is heightened in the song.
Right.
The robin singing a masterpiece, lives and dies unheard. That's again an interesting way of just basically saying, like, so many bird songs, people either ignore, can't hear because the birds are not in earshot of human beings. So it's really only going unheard to us, maybe, but also, birds can just be flying, doing their thing, singing a beautiful song, and it's not for anybody. It's just for them. It's just something that they do.
Right.
And I just like how he chose to incorporate that into the song itself.
Yeah.
So the chorus, what do you like about the chorus, Angel?
That is that's probably my favorite line in the song. And I always thought that a robin song is one that people think is most beautiful of bird songs. And Lives and Dies Unheard. I always thought that it was the screams of passion. You don't hear it because of what's happening between the lovers. That's what I always thought was the reason why it's unheard, because it's being covered by what's happening in the bedroom. It's a part of what's happening in the whole setting of the thing, but no one's hearing it because they're covering it with their own song.
Ah, yes.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Like the robin's outside singing a masterpiece, but it's not being heard because
they're making their own masterpiece.
Yes, exactly. And they're not really paying attention to that, and they don't. It's not their focus, and that's okay. But it's just what's happening in the moment. Yes. Okay.
Right.
I like that. A sound produced by two in love. And of course, I get, this is written in 84 or, recorded, we assume recorded in 84. Another song that you and I did together for the show is When Two Are in Love.
Two Are in Love. Yeah.
And the two songs have some parallels, I think, between, the lyrics and just how romantic. It's not a sex song, it's a love song.
Right.
And Prince does both very well.
He does.
but they're sex songs and they're love songs. And they can have aspects of sex in the love songs. I mean, there's aspects of sex here. They talk about with every thrust, make me beg for more. I mean, that's talking about sex, obviously.
Yes.
And screams of passion is typically referred to, in the moment of orgasmic bliss or just having an enjoyable sexual encounter. But it's more about the love and the passion than it is about the sexual intercourse. And the same can be said with When Two Are in Love. But there's a lot of imagery in When Two Are in Love to try to, paint the picture of these two people and why is this moment so special between them. So if you go back to that episode or go back to the lyrics of When Two Are in Love, I think anybody who's listening will hopefully kind of get what I'm saying. But read these lyrics, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, he was on the same.
They both build. They start off in this really beautiful space. Well, it's all beautiful all the way through, but kind of crescendo into this. I don't know what it would be wrong to not say this kind of orgasmic finish at the end. They both do that. I believe they parallel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They definitely do, and it's all about being in love and making love when you're in love, and that's why the sound produced by Two in Love kind of makes me think of When Two Are in Love, not just because he used two in love, but just because the way the songs are presented and written are in a similar fashion, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Curtains dance and autumn plays on. So that just kind of goes back to the reference of,
Mm-hmm.
I think, a little bit to what was happening in the previous verse. So moving on to the next verse.
Mm-hmm.
All I hear in my head, echoing like a volcano, baby, the screams of passion. Back and forth, the raging seas of lust. I want you madly. Can't you tell? Take me in your arms, oh baby. The crime is done. I'd rather die here in your screams of passion. Oh, hold me now, baby. Tell me that you love me. Is it Sunday or is it passion? Oh Lord, the screams of passion. And he repeats that. Help me, Lord, screams of passion. And towards the end of this is when you get the screaming.
Mm-hmm.
You'll start in his version, of course, he screams, and then in the family's version, he screams again. Like he does the
Yes.
scream for both versions. And then you get the shh, trying to keep like the intention is to try to
Hush. Yeah.
keep it down. You don't want people to hear necessarily, or maybe it's getting too loud. So, Angel, can you give me some additional information, or additional thoughts on this verse?
I feel like it just continues in this really lovely space, and this is where we start to get the build of we're moving into where things get real intense, and we start leaving the making love to the sex. He has this really great way of telling a complete story, and it's easy to visualize when he writes this way. And I absolutely love it. Like it is really just my favorite way that he writes, where we get this full, it's always a full story, but these particular songs, this writing is where we go from one thing where we get a start and things are moving kind of slow and it's lovely and it's pretty and it's beautiful. And there's this build and boom, we're calling the Lord. At the end, we're calling the Lord.
Yeah.
It's my absolute favorite thing that he does. You've got a full whole thing. It's a movie in your mind. It's a whole thing. It's the romance novel. It's the Harlequin. Let's call it the
Right.
Harlequin.
Yes, yes. So the thing is, the whole "is it Sunday?" In that, you have to kind of assume that he's referring to church,
Yeah,
and trying to again make that connection between love and sex and God, and well, how does it all fit together?
yeah.
Is it church? Is it Sunday, or is it passion? So I've not sure I totally understand what he's trying to say there. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't. I don't know that I do. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I
it's a
guess
little
I could,
confusing.
make a guess. Like, is it church in the way of because in church we have the Holy Spirit and things get really intense and we get caught up and they're shouting and that is that what he's referring to?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. That's the thing. It always confused me a little bit because maybe he was saying, "Is it church?" Because of like any kind of like if you're going to like a Baptist church or something where there's
Yeah,
a lot of voices being heard, people are being asked to call out and in response, and you hear um, what maybe sounds like joyous and rapturous response.
yeah,
But are we in church right now? Nope, nope. It's just people
yeah.
screaming out,
It's just us.
or like saying oh my God," because that's a very stereotypical thing that
Yeah, it's churchy,
movies and
as we
television
call
have
it.
told
Yeah.
us can be. You could say that in church, or you could say that in while you're achieving orgasm.
Well,
That's
as the daughter of two ministers, for sure that happens in church. My dad is currently the pastor of a Baptist church.
will not confirm if it's ever been said anywhere outside of church.
Happens in
For
church, and I
context.
can attest that it does happen outside of church. So either way, it happens.
Yeah, I mean that's the only thing I can think of is that somebody saying "Oh God" or "Dear God" or "Oh my God," and
Yeah.
it's being said so loudly that people are confused, like walking
Is
by.
it
Are these
church or
people in church
is it
or
Sunday or? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we'll just kind of line out there. And if anybody else has a different interpretation of what that means, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. Take me in your arms. The crime is done. I'd rather die here in your screams of passion. That line always
Why
stood out
does he
as
say the
well.
crime is done? I've always wondered.
I don't know. That's another good question where he uses some words in the song that don't seem to always line up with what he's actually talking about in the song.
Yeah.
He's always in songs previously and will again in the future really emphasize how important sex is in a healthy relationship. It's very normal for two people in love to have sex. So in this situation, to call it a crime, I'm not entirely sure what. So he does that in Scandalous too. Like if you remember the Scandalous sex suite, there's these different aspects of the Scandalous sex suite that he calls out, and one of them is called the crime, and I find that interesting that he uses the term
Like,
again.
why the word crime? It's an interesting choice of words.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless he's thinking that the love making was so good it should be a crime. I don't know. I mean,
okay, that's like, fair.
heard that before.
Not the direction I thought you were headed in, but
no. I think I think that before where something is so good it should be criminal.
Yeah, a crime. Yeah,
because it shouldn't. Not everybody should be able to do this or have this thing that's so wonderful or so decadent or whatever. Yeah. So that is maybe why he's calling it a crime. I'm just speculating like we often do on the show.
Right.
That the crime in this case was a really good session of intercourse.
Yeah.
Of making love. So the crime is done. Hold me now, baby. Tell me that you love me. So he's also shown in songs that he's written before that he's not the type, at least that when he's writing songs, he's not the type of guy to, once the deed is done, to just be kind of distant or want to just move on with his day.
Good night, I'm going home.
He's always kind of given the impression through his lyrics, the lyrics that he writes, that there's a lot of post-coital cuddling, talking, holding each other, basking in
that afterglow.
The afterglow, exactly. Yeah. And this song keeps that tradition up.
Yeah.
All right, so then we get back and forth, raging seas of lust, raging, the screams of passion. Why don't you love me, baby? Can't you tell? And it repeats the Is It Sunday? I thought I heard a church bell, or was it passion? And then just repeats passion again, the screams of passion. Excuse me, but is that your passion? Do you want my passion? Do you want my passion? So now he's starting to use that, seemingly using the term passion, not necessarily just to refer to the attraction, the sexual energy between two people, but it seems to be like he's referring now to genitalia as passion.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, what I would like to do is I want to go look up the lyrics to the Family's version and see if that was incorporated as part of that. So bear with me. Yeah, that's part of the Family's version as well.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
interesting.
And we had that little bit of a side conversation before we hit record. Like, my general feeling was the Prince version, the lyrics of the Prince version were nearly identical to the lyrics for the Family's version. Like, when I'm just listening to it, I don't notice really anything different. And if there are differences, they're probably subtle. And that goes back to, I think we both agree, like Prince wrote these songs to be performed in a certain way.
Right.
They're guide vocals for a reason. He's like, I wrote this song for you to record. Just replace your vocals with mine. Don't do anything different.
Right.
Don't screw it up.
Just do it the way that I told you.
Yes, just stop asking questions. Just do it like this.
Yes.
I wasn't there, so maybe he was a little nicer than that. But
I hope so.
but but you kind of get that impression, like, just because of how much of a perfectionist he was. He
Right.
didn't just give them lyrics on a sheet of paper and say, sing these lyrics. No, I'm going to show you how it should be done and how it will be most effective, how it will
Right.
sound better with the music that I wrote and recorded for the song that I want you to sing. And I think, like, with a band that is part of his camp, like the Family
Mm-hmm.
were a Paisley Park album, like his
Right.
burgeoning label. He wanted, an artist that's going to be recording music on his label to
Mm-hmm.
follow, follow his lead,
Yeah.
and just, stay in line.
With
And
the same
so
sound, right?
the same sound. And so, like, the music probably the lyrics match the music, and if you don't follow that template, it will not work the same way. So
Right.
it's not surprising that they use that. I guess I just never really, when I listened to the song and have been listening to the song for many, many years, I never really focused too much on this part of it. Like, when it's more just seemingly ad libs. I know they're not literally ad libs, because Paul's not ad libbing these lines. He's just
Yeah.
singing them exactly how Prince told him to sing them. But they give to me, a little bit more of an impression of being an ad lib. Is that your passion? Do you want my passion? Just repeating lines around passion, because that's the name of the song, and that's what the song is trying
Yes.
to convey. Is a sense of passion, a sense of urgency between two lovers.
Mm-hmm.
And then he repeats the Sunday, adding the aspects of I thought I heard a church bell, or was it passion? That's kind of funny. It's like, okay, I don't know how you
Yeah.
confuse the two of them, but sure, we can stay on board with that. So yeah, there's not a whole lot more to the song after that. There's this outro. If you want my love, if you want my body, baby. You get some of, like, the some
Yeah.
additional
That's where we get
orchestral.
more screams. Let me hear
Yeah,
you
we get more
scream.
screams. Let
Yeah.
me hear you scream. I want some passion. But most of the lyrics towards the end of the song are just, again, as I kind of mentioned, just throwing lyrics over the music, repeating similar lines but in a different way. If you want my love, if you want my body, is kind of like, okay, yeah, both, because that's what's happening
Mm-hmm.
at this moment. You're sharing love and sharing
And
physical
bodies.
affection.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not just one or the other. We're not talking about a platonic relationship here. We're talking about one
We've
that,
moved beyond that. Yeah.
yes. So essentially, like, verse 1 seems to be the verse that talks about leading up to sex, and then beginning of sex, and then verse 2 is sex continuing until orgasm. They have that screaming portion,
Yeah.
and then now we're in the kind of the afterglow portion of the song, where then it's more just repeating similar lines, and make sure to hold me, make sure to tell me that you love me, tell me that you
Mm-hmm.
want it again, that you want some more. So it seems like the song
So
seems to be
round
structured in
2.
that way. Yeah, it's like it
Yeah.
seems to be structured in a way where it's like the foreplay, the action with the event itself, and the postcoital afterglow.
Yeah. It's a
So that's the
beautiful
screams of
song.
passion. Yeah,
Yeah. A
I have
beautiful
always
song.
enjoyed this song. I've enjoyed the music around it a lot. I enjoy the lyrics being as poetic as they are. I'm glad that they really spoke to you, Angel, because
Yeah.
I was always more attracted to the song because of the music than the lyrics. I'll
Mm-hmm.
just be honest. So
Yeah.
to have somebody on the show that these lyrics really, again, spoke to you and really helped frame the type of writer you were going to be,
Yeah.
uh, is cool. It's really cool. I'm glad you chose to do the song with me.
In my very young 12-year-old heart in 1985, that is where, I mean, it was the lyrics and the music. I mean, music has always been a part of my life. My father was a lead singer of a band, and so I feel like it was going to happen for me. Music was always going to be a part of my life. My kids are musicians. It was just going to be that way. But the the lyrics just really spoke to me. The style of the lyrics really spoke to me, and have had this impact on me for all of these years. Now, of course, I moved away from romance novels and write something complete. I write a lot of different things, but um, it's really cool to be able to say that my favorite artist had such an impact on what I've done with my life in that way. It's really dope.
Yeah, it is dope. And
Yeah.
again, very glad that you chose to do this song with me. I've wanted to do, so I was a little disappointed when this wasn't added onto originals, not because, we can't find Prince's version. It's out there, it's been leaked.
Yeah.
I've uploaded Prince's version even on my YouTube channel, so if people want to hear Prince's version, go to my YouTube channel and type in Screams of Passion, you'll be able to find it. But more just because I really like some of the most significant songs that Prince wrote for other artists are what I want to hear the vocal versions for, like his vocal
Definitely.
versions. And I
Yeah.
consider Screams of Passion to be a significant song that he wrote for another artist, for another band, for another group.
I agree.
And the
Yeah.
fact that it wasn't included on the first round, the first volume, hopefully, I say first, there hasn't been no volume two. I'm
But
hopeful
let's hope
that,
for.
so I'm going to call it volume one with the hopes that we'll someday get a volume two. But for this
May
song
the
to not be
powers that
included,
be hear you
thank
and
you.
and give us a volume 2 and include this song in
And
volume
include
2.
this song. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. And there's this version of this song that I've been in love with ever since I first heard it years ago. It's a rehearsal version where Prince is in the studio and he's, giving direction to I don't know
Yeah.
who, but he's telling people to make the tempo faster on the drum machine. Maybe it's his engineer at the time. I don't know who was engineering
Mhm.
this song, if it was Peggy McCready or who, Susan Rogers, not sure. But it's a rehearsal version, and it's him, live with the piano. It goes on for quite a while,
Mhm.
8, 9 minutes, maybe even longer. It's been a while since I've listened to it. But when I first heard this rehearsal version of this song, I was just blown away by how cool it sounded. Like just how
Yeah.
amazing he turned this kind of funny, funky little pop ditty about romance and, using screaming in it and using all this language that again looked like it came out of a romance novel. But then he turned it into almost like this religious experience. And I don't use that
Yes.
term lightly because I don't
Mhm.
have a lot of I don't apply that word a lot because I'm not as religious as a lot of people are.
Yeah.
So I would never just call something a religious experience and and not do that in a way where I didn't really truly believe it.
Right.
More like a spiritual experience, I guess, would be a more an appropriate way for somebody like me to use it.
Yeah.
So I would
Religious
love,
is fair. I think it's a great use. It's a great way to say it. As somebody who's pretty religious and spiritual, I think that it's a fair way to say it. Yeah.
yeah. So I would love. I'm going to put a link to. I don't have that version on my YouTube channel, but it's out there still. Whoever put it and posted it years ago, that's still available. So I'm going to put a link to that on my blog for this episode because I do think people should hear that version. It makes you almost think of this song in a different way.
Yeah.
Um,
It's that version is very choir rehearsal-ish to me.
ah, good
Yeah.
analogy. Yeah,
That's what
good
it feels
analogy.
like for me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't really have much more to say about the Screams of Passion, Angel. Do you?
No, I think we've covered a good bit. This is
Okay.
good. This has been good.
Yeah. Again, it's not the deepest of songs. I mean, we don't have so much to cover with this one because it is very straightforward. I mean,
Yeah.
even though there's a lot of kind of abstract imagery added and poetic
Hmm.
imagery, it's still fairly straightforward once obviously you know what the song is about. So
Right.
I think we did it justice.
It's a beautiful setup for a short story. And when I write it, I'm going to send it to you. I'm
Awesome. Can't wait.
going to send it to you first.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well, Angel, is there anything that you want to let the listeners know or where to find you or anything of that nature you want to share?
I'm usually hanging around causing trouble on social media. You can find me. I'm often on Twitter. I am at Angel Monique. I own a bakery at Daisy B and Company. I am trying to make a comeback for Black Friday. You know, I lost everything in the house fire a couple of years ago, so I'm slowly rebuilding, and that is my tentative return. I'll know for sure in the next coming weeks. But Daisy Beat and Company is my bakery. I do cookies. I've been asked to do turtles, so that's something that'll probably come back. But for now, you can just find me causing trouble and making a ruckus on Twitter, more than likely, at Angel Monique. That's me.
Okay. Great. Again, thank you so much for being on the show, Angel.
Thank you so much for having me. It is always my absolute pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. That's much appreciated. So this has been the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics podcast. I've been your host, Jason Brenninger. You can find the show at pressrewind.net. But also if you're on the various social media platforms such as X, we'll call it X, I guess, Threads, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you can find the show there and follow the show on either or any of or all of those social media platforms. And until next time, thank you very much and goodbye.